The Old Mutual joBerg2c, delivered by Avis Van Rental and Telkom. So 2 days in the legs as we head to Sterkfontein Dam, a mere 122 kilometers. It's a big one. And the Mount Paul climb looms in the last 15 kilometers. But before then, wonderful, wonderful riding. Exceptional views of the Drakensberg, our first of where we're headed on the Old Mutual joBerg2c. Day 3, it is a special one. We stay in the landlocked Free State on day 3 as we continue our eastward journey. It's a long day on the bike, and if the early climb doesn't wake us up, Huntsy's Lions will. Deep in the back country, appreciate the peace and tranquility, and the generous farmers who put aside their toils and troubles to open gates and their hearts to us. Jabu's single track is a snaking riverine section of fun as the kilometres race by. The single file climb up Mount Paul will test the legs before the descent will bring on the broad smiles. The 2K dam wall is the gateway to the massive Sterkfontein Dam, where we'll be indulged by the wonderful people of Harrismith. With such a narrow gap between the top two teams, racing was going to be intense from early on the longest stage of the 9 days. Likewise in the Lanham Love mixed category, where just 6 seconds separated the top two teams. Much of the day's landscape was characterised by huge millie farms, many still suffering the effects of the devastating drought. Mixed leaders Grant Usher and Amy McDougall of Valencia Lanham Love, and their stablemates Henriette Skuman and Samantha Sanders, who held a handy lead in the women's race. It didn't take long for the lead group to thin out. Among them Arabi and Kriya of Telkom, Nads, Combrink and Bell, White and Hill of Thule TIB, and Kachelhofer and Seifert of Altic Order Page. At the first water point at 35 kilometers, none of the teams risked losing touch by stopping, as top athletes had been carrying just enough nutrients and drinks to ensure they could reach the second water point at around 72 kilometers. The second group were around 90 seconds back and contained all the main protagonists in the Vets, Masters and Mixed race. Johan Laverskagni and Catherine Williamson keen to get away from McDougall and Usher, also in there Dormer USN's Lil and Neertling. The third group saw a few riders taking the chance to stop and refuel. The communication here is vital. If one rider stops, his partner needs to know. Otherwise, as happened to Vet's third team, Solly Prinsloo and Arno Kutsia, things could get a little heated. Solly just couldn't find Arno. At around 69 kilometers, there was a split in the lead group. Harvey Combrink had taken a small fall, and he and Nico Bell had to work hard in the wind to regain contact. Shortly before the Mount Paul ascent, 15 kilometers from the finish, Telkom and Nad attacked and got away from White and Hill. Over the world's biggest earth-filled dam wall on Sterkfontein, the two teams sized each other up as they prepared for a sprint finish. And after a game of cat and mouse along the banks of the dam, it was Bell and Combrink who took the win by a second. In the GC, after 3 stages, Johan Rabi and HB Kriya have a second on Nico Bell and Harvey Combrink. Andrew Hill and Tyrone White, heading towards home territory, will look to the more technical stages to perhaps make up time. Sam Sanders and Henriette Skuman have just over 20 minutes in hand over Sarah van Heerden and Cindy Tunison in the women's race. In the Lanham Love mixed, Grant Usher and Amy McDougall lost time to a cut sidewall on Mount Paul, so Johan Laverskagni and Catherine Williamson are the new leaders by close on 6 minutes. A good day for farmer Glenn Hoare and Hein Gillemy. They're now in second in the City Lodge Masters, but they'll have to go some to catch the Cycle Lab Masters, Greg Anderson and Dion Krier. There were tired legs and bodies going into stage 3 after 2 deceptively hard days in the saddle. No doubt there would have been some in the field questioning the wisdom of pushing the enter button while sipping a glass of wine in front of the winter fire. Today, though, would be welcome soothing balm to those legs and rear ends. Noticeable as the route wound its way through the farms were the bone-dry dams and pans, a legacy of the crippling drought that devastated much of the country, and a stark reminder of just how tough life is for the farmers. Not that you would notice from the way they welcomed the riders with typical rural hospitality at the water points, and more food and drink that you would find at a Platteland Tug of War Championships.
I've never eaten sausage on a ride before, but it's magnificent.
The fast deserted back roads of the Eastern Free State gave way intermittently to rough jeep tracks and sections of flowing single-track happiness that, allied to yet another day of perfect weather, brought the smiles and sense of humour back. Jabu's sinuous trail is a masterpiece, winding for kilometres along the banks of the Klerksspruit. John Mwangi and his blind stoker Douglas Idialo just loved it.
skielik groot word. Ons fairytale vir die werklikheid.
Mount Paul, the day's final obstacle, another example of how the route has evolved in 7 years. As have the riders, everyone climbing to the top.
Maar nou moet ons agter valse ambisies skuil. Nou sit ons al twee vas in die verkeer elke oggend. Na 'n lang dag is dit dieselfde storie vanaand. Op die radio met my geselskap hou, speel 'n ou song waarvan ek baie.
The descent, pure bliss.
Volle borse. En die mense langs die straat is my geluk. Stage lights, karre se ligte van voor. Highway se lawaai is my applaus. Ja, ek sal aanhou droom.
A following wind of the world's largest earth-filled dam wall, the finish in sight. Spirits were high, as was our chopper pilot Lee and snapper extraordinaire M. Gatland.
Ek sal aanhou droom.
This year, upward of 130 international riders are on the race and getting a truly South African experience.
It was a bit hard, but very beautiful. Nice single trails, beautiful scenery, nice people all over the way, just perfect.
The sun is burning, it's hot, but the trails were very beautiful.
Today was the best day. The landscape was beautiful.
My partner decided that he was feeling great and I was feeling average, and the last 30 k's put me in a world of pain.
But let's put our hands together. A big round. There he is. Dave Johnson in tow. Our last two riders home for today's stage. And a blistering fast time of 9 hours, 9 minutes and 23 seconds. It's the team. Are we there yet?